Great to see you. I'm glad you're here. I'm going to take a look at Chrono Cross today, and we can discuss that. This is the second episode in the series, and if you would like to see more episodes in this series where we play Chrono Cross and discuss things on a technical level, please let me know in the comments, or if there's any other games, you can let me know as well. My dog didn't want to be separated from me today. He just wanted to hang out with me, so he just followed me into my studio and wouldn't leave. He just wants to hang out with me. So there's my dog here with us today. This is Logan. I name all my dogs after X-Men. Yeah, okay. So, in the previous episode, I took a look at some technical aspects in the first village of Chrono Cross. I was so impressed with the work that the developers done, not just for the remaster, but for the original game overall. Let's hop back into the game and take a look at some things that I just really like. My dog wants me to keep petting him. I can play the game one-handed while I pet my dog, that's fine. Okay, what I really like about this is you can try to cut in line. This is not me talking to the characters, this is me trying to cut in line, and the characters respond accordingly. It's things like this that show that the thought process for games in the 90s was very different than what we have now. Back then it was very much an experience. It was about the experience, and it was about an exploration of concepts. And there were just fun, wild ideas, and this is an exploration of concept, and these characters are responding to you cutting in line. It's not about realism, it is about expressive communication, and that is so interesting to me, and it's fun. Now, I'm supposed to talk to somebody. I don't know who I'm supposed to talk to, but this man has a face picture, so I assume that he's important. I think my dog wants to go out. Let me let him leave the studio. Okay. I don't want a tutorial. I'm just not in a tutorial mood. Who do I talk to? So I pointed this out in the first episode of this series that this is not a retro game. Basically, every single person on the internet is using the word retro incorrectly. This is a vintage game. It is old, basically. Something that is retro is something that is new, that is style matching or attempting to evoke the memory of something that is old. So say, for example, Shovel Knight. That's a retro game because it's a new game that is evoking 8-bit pixel artwork and the 8-bit era of gaming. So that is a retro game. This is a vintage game, and something that is classic, for example, classic cars. Something that is classic is something that is vintage, but it is deemed to have great value above the ordinary in terms of its quality. So, you know, Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, and 10 are classic games. They're not just vintage, they're classic. And there might be something like, I don't know, Garfield Kart Racer on the PlayStation, if they ever did that. That would be a vintage game. I wouldn't call it classic. Something I really like here is the fading from the dark to light. You see, that's not a real shadow. This is basically just a flat picture. There are not real shadows, but the developers want to communicate the idea that this is a shadow. So when Serge enters a certain part of the environment, his graphics become a little darker. And that is just consistency with the visual communication that they're giving us here. Serge's mother says something here. Obviously, it's dialogue to help Cat. Please. Okay. Weren't you supposed to meet Lena this morning? Hurry along now and go apologize to her. Don't expect me to stick up for you if Lena ever decides to blow you off. Let's see. She said something earlier, it was like, don't ever break a promise to a girl. Oh, she's not repeating the line. I do like that. Characters saying different things but delivering different lines. I do like that. Earlier she said something like, don't break a promise to a girl. I was gonna say, yep, you're gonna have problems if you do that. Where is Lena? Who is Lena and where is she? Ooh, whoa. Now this artwork is such high resolution on the portraits. I would suspect that they went back and got the original artwork and rescanned it. I believe all of the original artwork for this existed in archives. I believe they rescanned all of the original artwork. This artwork does not look upscaled. This kind of looks like it's filtered for upscaling, you know, but that could just... It could just be that there was a little bit of upscaling for that, but I'm looking at some of the portraits. Yo, man, what you got? Look how chonky and blocky this fisherman is. Oh, man, I feel like that some days. Some days you wake up and it feels like your poly count is lower than it should be. Whew. This fisherman's kind of becoming my spirit animal right now. Can you hear the cries of countless men swallowed by the sea? Yikes, that's getting dark. The hidden secret of the sea whispers. I recommend you learn to sense the mood of the sea. That's if you don't want to join the fellows already on the bottom. Who localized this? This isn't like a Ted Woolsey, is it? I'm a big Ted Woolsey fan. Is this character I need to speak to? Yeah, I feel like they got the original artwork and rescanned it. That's kind of what it looks like to me, because there's so much pixel data, but parts of it do look like there is some upscaling. Who knows? Who knows? Well, there's always going to be some scaling because they have to fit the asset down into the environment. Have a look at the characters swimming and they get occluded by the surface. That is such a great visual effect. Everything from this era is just magic tricks. It's all sleight of hand, it's all visual trickery. You know what? I really like the heads-up display. This is when we started getting more into skeuomorphism, where we had more memory on the consoles, so we could have more when it came to unique visual elements on the heads-up display. And skeuomorphism is where the visual element that you present is meant to look like the thing which it is presenting. Sort of when we got into a certain generation of the iPhone and the Android, the early generation, where things were more detailed. Right now we're stepping very, very far away from skeuomorphism. But I love this because it really sells this environment. Oh, look at the background of the text as well. That's tiled. They saved themselves some memory. You can see the tiling. Have a look at where the texture repeats as we go along the top of that. So it's the corners. The corners obviously are unique pieces. They don't look like they're repeated. So the corners are unique. They haven't repeated those. Let's see here, that bottom bit. It's really the left and right that you see some tiling. Yeah, there is some tiling on the vertical, and then on the horizontal, it's very obvious the tiling. This looks fantastic. The little rotating leaf letting you know that you can continue the text. This is great. Oh, yeah, and have a look at the visuals of trying to show that there are ripples. You know, you see where the objects are touching the water at the far end of the pier. They're having that tile. It's the exact same technique that they used for the little light shafts coming in through the window. Is that quad that has a transparent texture. It moves, it's translating itself across the environment, and then when it reaches a certain point, it resets itself, it warps itself back to another position. This is so clever. I really want to now make a game that uses these techniques, these vintage techniques, because it really has a very specific feeling to it. Okay, here's my mission. Go collect some scales around Lizard Rock. I have one. I got one in the last episode. I'm going now. Oh, look, and the boat is a 3D model because they would like to show that it is rocking and moving along on the surface. This game, it's beautiful. This is really fantastic work from the artists that originally did this. Great work upscaling it. I think this game always had a kind of hand-painted oil painting kind of feeling to it, and I think that if they had used AI upscaling, I feel like it may have probably would have lost that, because I'm looking at the Saga Frontier remaster, which does use AI upscaling, and it loses something. It doesn't, it looks AI upscale. I look at it and I think, oh, this is AI upscaled, and that's not bad. AI upscaling is not the same thing as generative AI. We should be using AI upscaling because it is not creating something, it is not just generating nonsense. The AI upscaler is interpolating pixels, and we really need help doing that when it comes to pixel interpolation for increasing the resolution and filtering. Otherwise you get Final Fantasy IX Remaster that is a total mess. This one is using a pixel interpolation method that is not AI upscaling. It is something simpler. It's something that we see in the emulators that I discussed in the first episode. And I recommend you take a look at that if you're enjoying Chrono Cross. This is, okay, so I want to know, because I don't believe that we had splat maps on the PlayStation, and a splat map, you're using a texture to tell the game where other textures should appear. And that allows us to tile and repeat textures, but also create unique patterns on the ground using splat maps. And I don't think we had that, which means I think that they've manually created those textures in the background, on the ground. Oh boy, that would have sucked. I'm thinking about doing that. Yeah, it's doable. It's not that hard, but it would have sucked keeping all of the pieces lined up. And then you have your naming conventions from an organizational perspective. The artists create it and they hand the asset off to the programmers and they say, implement this into the game. Make sure you don't get the placement wrong. It's from a management standpoint, I think that workflow would suck. These aren't splat maps. You can see the incongruity between the different tiles. And on the original PlayStation that was at a much lower rendering resolution, you most likely would have been very hard to see them. And this still looks fantastic. I think that this is my preferred approach. Something I really like here, if you have a look at his legs, his feet are not flat on the ground. They're actually off at an angle a little bit. And let me see. I think that they just didn't do it. They could have rotated the bone, right? There's bones in the characters that determine that. I think they could have rotated it because this is vertex animated. Final Fantasy VIII was the first Final Fantasy that was vertex animated, had skinned meshes. The actual model itself is warping. We are warping the vertices of the actual models. Final Fantasy VII did not have that. Characters were made out of individual parts. There is no model in Final Fantasy VII that has any vertex animation. The legs are, oh, yeah, I think they just didn't rotate the bones to sit flat. Sure, I'll use Cure. Okay, let me find the things that I need to find. Push that in the water. Oh, how do I get that treasure? What? Where's that? Okay. How do I get that treasure? Please, I want that. I want the treasure, needs it, Precious. Gives us the treasure, Precious. We needs it. Yep, nice, thank you. Ooh, I got a silver lei. Okay. This is so pleasant to look at. A lot of how positive I feel about this comes down to the consistent pixel density, which is something that whoever works on Final Fantasy, it seems that they are allergic to consistent pixel density. I don't know who determines what font they should use for the pixel remasters or any of those that were on Android years ago, but my head hurts looking at those. Can I run? I just want to... I'd rather do battles if I had a party member joining me. You know, if I had a party, you know what I mean? I like having a bunch of characters that look weird and cool. It's those fun little color dinos. That's what I need. All right, let me find one of those hippie dinos. Where are you? Ooh, run! Okay, so I came from here. What if I go up here now? I need to find the hippie dinos. Nice. Check out the footprints left behind. This is something that was quite rare for the PlayStation, and no way. What? Have a look at the shadow beneath the character. So what is happening is they've employed some method to where they know that the ground is supposed to be at a certain angle, even though it isn't. There is no ground here, there is no geometry, because this is just a flat background. But somehow they're able to issue instructions to that shadow beneath the character to say that, yes, there is some geometry beneath him and the shadow needs to change its angle. Perhaps there actually is geometry here that is hidden, that is invisible geometry, and they are using that to instruct the shadow to change its angle. That helps sell the illusion that this environment is a real 3D space, when again, it's just a flat background. So that is interesting to me. That's so fascinating. I don't know why they would have put in that much effort. Final Fantasy IX, I've never seen a situation in 9, the original or the remaster, that does that. So I'm fascinated by that. That they put that much effort to consider that this is a slope and that the shadow would be sloping. So fascinating. They didn't really need to do that. And then, of course, the character gets darker as he steps into this shadow zone. I would have called this a shadow zone. No. I would call it a shadow realm, programmatically. So if I were programming this, I would say, the character enters this, they enter a collision zone, the shadow zone, if you will. And you just change the color value on the shader itself. Change the color value on those to say it's darker. This is not a real shadow. Nothing's being calculated or rendered in real time. The environment is not casting a shadow on the character. We're just saying the character entered a shadow realm, and now his model has to be a little darker. I do like to see that kind of care put into the visual presentation. Again, it all adds cohesion. It's coherent. I fell in a hole. I didn't even know that was wow. What a hole. Ooh, a creature. All I care about's the treasure, baby. Give me the treasure. Ooh, I'm putting that straight on. Okay, I have my sea swallow. Is that sort of like the guy was saying that the sea swallows men? It's now they're part of the ocean. There's like a bird. My sword doesn't look like a bird. I'm just thinking about the tools that were available. Ooh, what a cool effect. Holy crap, that was cool. They've upscaled the visual effects as well, the special effects. That's nice. I'm thinking about the tools that were available to the developers at the time. The monster animations are very expressive, and I'm thinking about, I would have done it, but I'm thinking about how difficult it would have been for them, how tedious it would have been for the developers to do all of the animating for the creatures. The most creature animation I've done was for, I think it was 2016, I did Animele, which is a fighting game with animals, and then I rolled out more updates with more animals for that. That was a challenge, and I had access to the very latest and the very best technology when it came to animating rigs like that. And even that's time consuming, it's difficult, and I think about the tools these developers had. The tools were no good. And I need to figure out how to trap this hippie dino. So I'm hats off to the developers, because they did incredible work here. All right, hippie dino, how do I get? Sometimes you can see gaps in the character models. You can see right through them depending on the camera angle. Sometimes have a look on the dino on the left. You can see around his neck area. You can kind of see through him sometimes, which means that these vertices are not welded. It looks like these creatures were created in parts, maybe to make it easier to paint the textures for them. I'm trying. There is 3D geometry as part of that effect. That's so cool. These days we would just do it with particle systems because we are so blessed. These are great visual effects. There's sort of low polygon capsules, multiple of them, and then they travel in an arc. That's cool. That's, wow. Yeah, these days we rely on the brute force power of particle systems, and they allow us so much more creative freedom, creative expression, and they allow us to make stuff that looks very cool so quickly. So seeing these visual effects, knowing that they don't have modern particle systems, all of that is just hand-programmed, hand-animated. Man, they've done brilliant work. Something that I really like is this multi-layer traversal. Based on the entrance through which the player enters this environment, they can enable different colliders and different overlay layers. And so normally when you play through this environment, you're on the lower level, but there are not actually multiple levels to this. There isn't actually layers of depth to this because this is just a flat background. And so this is basically a magic trick. It's like watching a Buster Keaton trick, you know? It's visual performance here, and they're tricking you into thinking you're on a higher plane. Not really, no. It's so fascinating. And of course there is 3D depth to all of this, but it's not like a real 3D environment. I find that fascinating. Am I gonna stuff up catching this hippie dino? How do I want this hippie dino. I'm gonna jump on him. Okay, I landed on the hippie dino. I'll get one scale from this, but then there's one other hippie dino, and I'm not sure how to get him because he runs in a big circle, so I'm gonna have to figure out that nonsense. Do I have any magic yet or not yet? What do I got here? Edamer. I can cure myself, and that's all I got. Alright. Take this, you hippie. Oh, cool. A hippie grandpa dino. Okay. I think I picked up a fireball from the box earlier and didn't really think about it. Should I have a fireball right now, or what is a tablet? That must be an item. Anyway, I guess I'll attack him. That's all I can do. I'm gonna hit him real good. Oh, we've got two tails. Oh, fun. Look at his split sort of the ridge on his back there. Neat. He's oh, this is a mama. Oh, wow. There's a lot of animation going on here. Look at his eye. Now that's not actually a piece of geometry that is going over the eye. It is actually the eye. You can see the eye. The geometry for the eye is actually squishing and scaling down. So the eyelid is not going over the eye. The eyelid is squishing the eye. There. You would not have noticed that on the original PlayStation at all. There's not enough resolution on screen. You couldn't have noticed it. That's so interesting, and that's certainly much easier, much faster to model and do all that. Yeah, give me your scales. I need them for my quest. I do declare, I done leveled up. Okay. I have to go to Opasa Beach. I was just there. Come on, man. Oh, now this is considerate design. I don't have to go through Wizard Rock again. I've already been through there. I can walk straight on through to Opasa Beach. Very well considered design. Oh, you know whose knees always bothered me is Irvine in Final Fantasy VIII. I think he was my favorite 8 character because he was the interesting, cool one. And there's the scene where he's supposed to, spoilers if you haven't played Final Fantasy VIII, he's supposed to try to assassinate Edea, and then he's sitting down, and his knees, they have not enough vertices in there. And so you just see the knee like cave in, and his whole leg folds into itself. And I remember thinking, we'll do better than that. In the future, video games will look better than this. And it's funny because I never felt that way about Final Fantasy VII. 7 kids don't know that much. You know, we can be honest about that. Kids just don't know that much because they're still learning the world. So I was pretty dumb as a kid. And when I saw 7, I said, oh man, video games will never look better than this. Final Fantasy 8 came out, and that's when I understood, oh, there's more detail on the characters. I didn't know what a texture was, but 8 had textured models. 7 had no textured models. It just relied on vertex color. So 8 showed me, oh wow, games can look even better. But then I saw Irvine's legs, you know, when he's sitting on the ground and his knees his legs collapse. You know, it's like a black star folding into itself. And then, yeah, I knew we'll do better than that in a couple of years' time. Now, we do see a lot of color banding here. Have a look at the sky and then the ocean here. It's not as noticeable in the other areas of the game because there's more clouds, there's more detail. But when we just have a flat, empty sky like that, you see a lot of color banding. On CRT, with the original artwork, it wouldn't have been that noticeable because the CRT blends things together. We have pixel perfection these days, and so we can see imperfections like that. I wouldn't mind if the developers did manual work to smoothen out the banding. That would take manual work to smoothen that out. We have access to much higher color depth for these visual assets. Ooh, we got ourselves an FMV. FMV stands for full motion video. Oh, getting Final Fantasy VIII flashbacks here. I feel like I can hear the music. Oh, what's all this now? There's something going on here. Ooh, this scary eyeball. I done seen something I feel afraid of. Tidal wave? Is that a real tidal wave or like a metaphorical tidal wave? Oop, something magical's happening. Something magical. Can I please get some party members? Hey, where's my friend? My friend's gone. I just want some party members. I want some cool weirdos to travel around with. Dude, you ever face planted in the sand? Oh, I'd hate that. That looked really unpleasant. I've woken up. Have I traveled to the past? And can I please get some weirdo party members to join me now? Anyway, I think that's it for today's episode. If you would like me to continue the series and continue playing Chrono Cross and discussing the game on a technical level and just enjoying and hanging out with you guys, please let me know in the comments so I know if I should keep rolling with this or not. But anyway, it's been fun to take a look at this game, and I'm in awe at what the original developers achieved and the developers who remastered this and brought it to modern audiences. I'm impressed with their work. I'm so glad to see what they've accomplished here, and I'm very glad that it's much better than Final Fantasy IX Remaster. Take care of yourselves. Be well. All right. We'll see you. I'll see you around.